Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the call today. I see that we have 16 present, so let's give a few more minutes before we get started. And thanks everyone for joining the call. We'll get started shortly. Okay, everyone. Looks like we are finally getting the bulk of the callers logging in, and the participant count is rising. In the interest of time, we'll go ahead and get started. It's 1:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'd like to thank everyone for joining the call today. A little house cleaning before we get started. This call is being recorded. If you are not consenting to be recorded or have any of your comments recorded, please drop the call. The slide deck and the recorded conversation will be made available post-call in the partner group. The actual link to the group will be shared, so those with interest in having the deck and the recorded call, you would have opportunity to download that from the Modern Workplace Security and Compliance Yammer page. With that being said, we'll get started. Thanks everyone for joining the OCP Modern Workplace Security and Compliance U.S. Partner Community Call for February 2018. Today's topic, we will cover Shadow IT and how to use Cloud App Security and Shadow IT assessments. Our presenter today will be Mr. Matt Sussman. He'll introduce himself once we get started. I'd like to share a couple more pieces of information before we hand the floor over to Matt. As always, partners can stay informed by joining the U.S. Partner Community. This is your first stop for finding information about what is going on within the partner community as related to the Microsoft security and compliance workloads, as well as the technical team and partner technical team. The links are listed here to stay abreast of our apps and infrastructure group, our Modern Workplace Security group, data and analytics group, as well as the business application and open source. The links are live within this deck and they will be shared. We highly encourage all of our partners to join us in Las Vegas, Nevada, July 15th through the 19th, 2018 for Microsoft Inspire. This is an opportunity to come out and share experience with your other partners, your co-partners in the field, as well as hear the latest and greatest in what Microsoft is doing with the partners in our partner ecosystem. please register today or look at the links to get more information. With that being said, we'll go ahead and get started today. As I stated before, the topic of today's call is Shadow IT Assessment using Microsoft Cloud App Security. Today's presenter will be Matt Saltzman. He is a cloud solution architect within the One Commercial Partner Technical Team at Microsoft. Please follow Matt on his blog, http://Matt's blog. And with that, I'd like to hand the floor over to you, Matt.
Hey, thank you very much, Ed. Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for investing your time here today with me over the next hour as we talk about Shadow IT and how you can use the Microsoft Cloud App Security service to help assess your customer's Shadow IT posture. I do apologize up front. I did make a little bit of a typo here in my deck. It's actually http://aka.ms/Matt's blog. So we'll make sure we get that corrected once we post this to the Yammer group. As Ed mentioned, part of my role at Microsoft is really to make sure that our partners are successful in everything they do and make sure they're able to build profitable businesses and have the tools that they need to go out there and deliver success to their customers. And so I'm really excited to talk to you today about one of the toolkits that we are providing our partners that enable them to build up some business with their customers and help them to basically establish that trusted advisor status with their customers, and that's around Shadow IT. So as you can imagine, this topic is pretty broad, and I can spend all day with you talking about Shadow IT and probably all week for that matter talking to you about cloud app security. But today we're just going to talk about the assessment, a little bit about CAS, and kind of go from there. So here's what we can expect to cover over the next 45 minutes or so. So let's kick things off and start talking about Shadow IT. It's really, really important for us to think about just how important Shadow IT is to our customers. Before we had cloud services, even rewind just a few years ago or about a decade ago, back when all of our services were on premises in our own data center, we were very good as organizations out there, as IT professionals, in securing that data and securing those applications and services that we provided back to our business users in the organization because it was walled off in the four walls within our data center. But life happened. Technology happened, and things started to evolve. Users started using smartphones. They started buying laptop computers that were cheaper than ever. They started using cloud services and cloud applications. And so now all of a sudden, you had users that were starting to work at companies and organizations where they can bring their own device to work and choose how they want to work and bring their own cloud services with them. If they wanted to use Dropbox, they can do that. And really the business had to embrace that from a recruiting perspective and from just an employee retention perspective as well. And so all of this has driven a lot of change within the IT environment over the last decade. And so as we start to think about what that means for Shadow IT is essentially having applications and services in your environment being used by users in a, quote, unapproved or unsanctioned manner. So for instance, if HR is out there using Dropbox and the organization standardized and purchased Office 365 and they're paying for Dropbox, the premium features of it, that's Shadow IT. And I put some numbers here in a slide. This is pretty interesting. The number on the left, I don't know if I would admit to that, but 80% of employees admit to using non-approved SaaS applications in their day jobs. And I could totally see this. This is a big, big deal. As I mentioned before, this is part of employee retention, employee recruitment. Millennials nowadays are starting to look at companies they want to work for that enable them and embrace them to bring their own device and bring their own services with them. 73% of enterprises indicated security as a top challenge, holding back SaaS adoption. You know, it used to be, rewind just a few years ago, organizations out there couldn't go to the cloud because of security. Well, now we're seeing customers go to the cloud because of security. And so, as you'll see when I talk about cloud app security in this assessment, really the power of some of the cloud services we offer from Microsoft enables organizations to adopt SaaS, but in a secure and compliant manner. Now, I would also argue with Shadow IT, personally for me as a IT professional, this topic can be a sensitive topic with our customers because as they start to empower their users to use their own device and use their own cloud services, if Shadow IT does happen, many IT departments out there may struggle in showing the value back to the business because of their business users using their own cloud applications. So it's definitely a topic we want to focus on and help our partners to help their customers understand this. And so as part of this assessment, we focus on particularly one product in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, if you will, and that's Microsoft Cloud App Security, or CAS for short. And if you were to ask me, Matt, do you have a favorite product out of everything that Microsoft offers, this is probably it. This product is pretty cool. It does a lot of different things, and with the Shadow IT assessment, we're going to go out and discover those cloud applications that are in use in the environment, and that's going to help us to assess the risk level that those applications present back to the business. But then, through Cloud App Security and through the assessment, when you build out a roadmap for the customer and how you're going to develop a strategy around Shadow IT, this can help you to control access to the data in those applications in real time and protect that data. But also through behavior analytics and analysis, you can do advanced protection like around impossible travel and scenarios like that. So this product is almost a one-stop shop. What's really cool, though, is it allows you to really focus on the protection of the data and not necessarily the protection of the device, right? As users move from devices to devices, it's really not about protecting the device itself, but it's rather around securing that data that moves between those devices. And Cloud App Security allows you to do that. All right. And of course, for the Shadow IT assessment I'm going to talk about, we're just going to talk about discovering and assessing the risk of these cloud apps. So as I mentioned, we use Cloud App Security, and this will basically go out and discover the applications and compare them against a catalog of around 15,000 applications, and it allows us to help you assess the risk that these present. Now, Microsoft Cloud App Security is a premium product, and so it does require an E5 license. However, you can set up a 30-day trial where you stand up a 30-day trial tenant of CAS, upload the data, crunch on it, and perform your assessment, and then you can simply tear down that tenant at the end of that trial if you choose to. And so there's some flexibility there. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I get the data into Cloud App Security so I can do the assessment? Well, this has to do with your firewall and proxy logs. So one of the first steps we do when we go on site and do this assessment is we want to make sure we gather the firewall logs. And CAS supports a myriad of different firewall vendors and types, and I have a list here in fine print. When you download the deck later, you can go through that and click on the URL to examine that a little bit more. But you'll take that firewall log and upload it to the CAS service. The CAS service will then parse through it and analyze it and provide that data back to you in a nice dashboard, and I'll show you what that looks like here coming up. Now, if you do have a firewall that maybe is not supported, you could take that log and using the custom log parser tool, manually map fields. And if the customer chooses to subscribe to the CAS service, they can actually configure this in such a way that it automatically uploads your firewall logs, and that's basically through a syslog service. But that's the underlying technology that we'll be using for this assessment. The architecture of Cloud App Security, I could spend all week here doing a deep dive with you on CAS, but at a high level, it's a cloud service, and so using those firewall logs that we gather and upload to the service, we're going to do our discovery on those cloud apps, and then leveraging APIs that are in the cloud app providers like Box or Salesforce, I could actually restrict how you access that data. and then using what we call the proxy in CAS, and this is basically a feature. It's nothing that you deploy, but then I can change the experience and how you access the data in those cloud apps based on a number of different variables. So probably a common use case of this is if I have a customer that is using a non-managed PC, whether it's from a customer side or an airport kiosk, they can log into Salesforce, but using the proxy and having session control through Cloud App Security, I can actually prevent you from downloading files from Salesforce, and I can actually manipulate that experience. So some really in-depth and really interesting features here of that product. So let's jump into the actual toolkits. I'm really excited about this, folks. Microsoft developed what we call go-to-market accelerators. And we developed these for each practice area of Microsoft 365. And in particular, with security compliance, we have 5 of these. Now, today I'm just going to talk about Shadow IT. But essentially, this is a toolkit provided 100% free of charge to our partners that contains delivery guidance. It contains all the documentation that you need to go out and deliver the assessment. It has all of the templates that you can use. We even have an example statement of work that you can use to help scope this out. And of course, we have all the tools provided in this toolkit. This is to the point where you could simply download it and put your logo on it and ship it. Although I would recommend not doing that because we want you to toss in your secret sauce and your unique value proposition. But we've done all the heavy lifting for you. And so you could take these and essentially make this into a offering on your website if you choose to. All right.
So, Matthew, let me interrupt you for 1 second.
Sure.
Some of the attendees are saying that your view has 2 of the default panes in the lower right. If you could change your view to Content View.
Okay. I'm currently on Content View.
All right. Let me just see if it's something on my end. One moment, everyone. Could you attempt just to cycle the view between speaker and content and see if that fixes the issue, sir?
Sure. All right, cycled between speaker and content.
Let's continue and let's see if that fixes it. I apologize to everyone if you still see it. We're trying to get it resolved. Go ahead and continue, Matt. We'll troubleshoot in the background.
No problem. Thanks for bringing that up. So again, these go-to-market accelerators are toolkits that we provide to our partners free of charge for you to use to create an offering or enhance your existing offerings. Again, we've done all the heavy lifting for you. All the content is provided to you. And you can take these and customize them how you see fit. So today we're going to talk about the Shadow IT assessment. And like I mentioned before, this uses Microsoft Cloud App Security behind the scenes to do this assessment. And really it has 3 objectives. The first objective is we want to understand how the customer uses third-party SaaS applications in their environment. What applications are being used? What does that usage look like? Also understand the customer's own objectives around security. What is their view on Shadow IT? Do they want to embrace it and partner with the business, or do they want to block it? And then also, what are some of their requirements if they choose to embrace it? How do they want to protect the data that are in those apps? The second objective is around education. I actually see this as a big part of the assessment. You can build time in where you sit down with the customer, and as you go through the Cloud App Security dashboard and go through all the apps that are in use and really do your analysis with the customer right next to you, you can provide education to them on what this is doing, how it's doing it, the different policies that are available in CAS to help mitigate different threats and also help to govern how these applications are used. And so it could be more of like a knowledge transfer, and that could prove to be very, very valuable as you start to build out that future roadmap on how you're going to help them. And then lastly, this is the gold, if you will, of the assessment itself, is creating a roadmap. So you would, as a result of the assessment, after you crunch on the data, create a roadmap on how you as a partner are going to help them in mitigating their shadow IT issue and helping them to build a strategy around it, to either embrace it or block it or do whatever you need to do. And this roadmap includes both things that Cloud App Security can do. It can include things from an entire Microsoft 365 ecosystem perspective, but also your own value add and how you as a partner can help fill in some of the gaps that Microsoft does not fill in to help that customer be successful. So if we look at this at a high level, when it was designed to be a 3-day assessment. Of course, you can reduce this down to 1 day, down to 4 hours. You can make this a week. This is just an example. But essentially, we'd have a kickoff where we go through with the customer and their stakeholders on what this thing is and what exactly we're going to be doing. First day, we're going to go through and set up CAS, upload the firewall logs, and start to get that configured. Day 2, we sit down with the customer and actually go through the dashboard and all the different reports, analyzing their cloud usage. And then day 3, we present back our findings and have a discussion around the roadmap and how we can help them. In terms of delivery guidance, again, this can be any type of timeline that you see fit. We recommend don't exceeding this over 30 days, but perhaps 3 days maybe is too long for you, so you can certainly shorten this if you want. But again, this is just an example as to how you might want to divide and conquer the timeline. What's really, really important, and what my recommendation personally would be, is that those activities on day 2, that's where you sit down with the IT pros, the customer, and sit down with them and actually go through the CAS console with them. And that could be really valuable to them as they start to understand the different apps that are in use and then how you might be able to protect the data in those apps. And so if anything, make sure you maximize that amount of time and that knowledge transfer, because when you go to review the roadmap with them, they'll already have some of that background knowledge from day 2, and it might help to seal the deal, if you will, on that roadmap and build some credibility around that. Engagement workflow, really we see you kicking off the workshop. We do have a questionnaire that the customer would fill out, and this is more environmental variables and questions that help you to understand the customer's current security posture, so you can factor that into when you build the roadmap. You kick off, you go through basically day 1, day 2, and day 3, and this can be on, again, any timeline that you see fit based on your business and your offering. For a detailed view of day 1 activities, again, this is where you would go through the questionnaire with the customer, ask them some of the basic questions that help you get an inventory of their security approach and their security practices currently in use today. You have a PowerPoint presentation I'll show you here in a moment, where you can present back to the customer on what is Cloud App Security. This is about a 40-slide PowerPoint presentation that allows you to introduce Cloud App Security to them, go through a guided demo, and basically answer questions around the product itself. This is where you can then go through and do a demo of that and then help them get set up with the firewall logs being uploaded and some of the basic configuration of CAS. Day 2, again, that's that guided exploration of the reports and the dashboard and going through and creating the roadmap and creating some of the closeout reports that you'll need for day 3. And then day 3 is presenting that back to the customer and helping them to understand where you sit today and here's how we can get you to where you want to be in terms of shadow IT, and using all of your unique value proposition, your secret sauce as a partner to do that. In terms of effort estimation, this is just an example of how we might want to think about this. A couple hours for the kickoff meeting, no more than 4 hours, if you will, for on-site workshops on day 1 and the technical setup. Day 2, this can be roughly 4 hours, although I might want to spend a full day with them just around that education piece and going through the actual report themselves. Because if any of you out there have used CAS before and have done this with a customer, some of the data in there can actually be quite eye-opening. And as you keep drilling through the reports, it gets pretty interesting. And so that can consume some time, so make sure you scope that out appropriately. Preparation for the roadmap and the detailed report, that's kind of up to you on how you want to do that. And then on day 3, that's basically presenting the roadmap itself back to the customer, so that only takes a couple hours in that meeting. So we're looking at roughly 24 to 32 hours, just as an example here, but again, you can design that however you feel like. All right, what's needed from our customers when we do this? Well, of course, we need them to complete this questionnaire. You can either send this to them in advance, or you can sit down with them over the phone or in person and go through it together to make sure they actually understand what's being asked of them. We want to make sure that we have some sort of a executive sponsor that can make sure we have access to the right teams during the assessment, because we're going to need firewall logs. We're going to need the global administrator to log into the CAS console for us. We're going to need all the right individuals in the room. Again, we want to make sure that we have that stakeholder that can oversee this project and make sure that we have everything we need to be successful. And then, again, we're going to need the right individuals that have the right permissions to be able to log into these tools, but also the right individuals that can take action as a result of learning about the outcome from these tools. What's out of scope? Again, it's just an assessment. Now, we are providing this to partners. You can chop this up and really customize it to however you see fit. Although for the initial assessment, of course, we don't want to do any technical designs or implementations of anything beyond just standing up Cloud App Security to upload the firewall logs and go through the assessment. Proof of concepts and labs, generally out of scope. And then being able to provide that security assessment for hybrid or on-prem infrastructure, that's out of scope. Although with all of that being said, this could be part of your roadmap. Now that you've done an assessment for the customer on their cloud SaaS application usage, maybe we want to go back and do a similar type of assessment for on-premises applications. Maybe we want to go through and do something with a proof of concept or a lab for them, right? So this could be part of that roadmap that leads to deeper engagement with that customer. In terms of business outcomes, there's multiple ways these assessments can go. This can be a foot in the door for you. This can be pre-sales. This can be a paid engagement. But really, we want to help the customer understand just how bad, or maybe not so bad, how the shadow IT posture is within their organization, right? Because most CIOs, most IT directors, most CISOs, they understand that they have a shadow IT problem. They may just not know how bad it is or to what extent. So we want to make sure they understand where they are today. And then we want to make sure we understand what's that target. Where do they really want to get to in terms of shadow IT? Do you see yourself embracing this, these different applications and allowing your business to use them if you protect the data that's in them? Or do you see blocking these and really forcing people to use only the approved sanctioned applications? And then, of course, through that roadmap, we want to make sure they understand here's how we as a partner can help them get to that target state. And not just through usage of Microsoft products and services like Cloud App Security, but also through the partner's own offerings and services. If you have an adoption and change management practice, that might help to be beneficial here in terms of training up IT and even the end users on how to properly use this applications. This could be a managed service. This could be a number of different things that you provide for them to help fill that gap. And then again, what does success really mean like? We're never going to get 100% secure. We're never going to get to a point where we have shadow IT completely covered. So let's have an honest conversation around what success really looks like for the customer. In terms of the actual assessment workshop, again, we just want to identify the usage of the applications that are in the environment, get a good understanding of what those applications are, get a good understanding of the risk that those applications may present back to the environment. So whether that increases your attack surface and increases your security risk. And then we want to make sure that when we create that roadmap, we actually prioritize the tasks and the actions that are of the highest value to the customer. So, what is that low-hanging fruit, if you will, that we can immediately knock out that's going to provide the highest impact and the highest value back to them, and then kind of work backwards from there. Okay, so let's take a look at the toolkit itself. You're probably wondering, how do I download this thing? Well, if you go out to aka.ms/toolkit, Shadow IT Assessment. You have to log in with an MPN ID. But once you log in, you'll be able to download this, and it's basically a zip file. And when you go to unzip it, you're going to have a few different resources in there. So you'll have, first and foremost, the most important thing is the delivery guide. So this is a Word document that's 30 to 40 pages, and it walks you through exactly step by step how to deliver this assessment with a customer. Really valuable. I see a lot of partners taking this and using it, but also customizing it to their own business flow. We also have a sample statement of work. So if you're curious around how do you scope this and how do you propose this back to a customer, you can take a look at that statement of work to get some ideas, or just reuse that and put your logo on it. In terms of delivery resources, we have the kickoff slide deck. And that has all the slides that you need to go through and conduct the kickoff presentation, including conditions of satisfaction and introductions and those type of activities. We have the questionnaire document, as I mentioned before. This just allows you to gather an inventory of the customer's security products and features that are in use in the environment. We have the engagement overview slide deck, so maybe a week or two before the actual kickoff meeting, you might have a Skype call with the customer just to remind them this is coming up, or maybe during your pre-sales, here's an overview of what this engagement might look like. We have the introduction to Cloud App Security slide deck. Again, this is a rather large deck that you can slice and dice and customize or pull from to help tell the story of Microsoft Cloud App Security to the customer and how that service will help during the Shadow IT assessment. And then we have the closeout slide deck that contains the roadmap template and everything you need to have those type of discussions. Again, we're providing this free of charge to our partners. These were created with the engineering teams at Microsoft, with support teams, with marketing, with about a dozen different teams that pulled together collective experience to provide back to our partners. But we completely expect you to customize this and use this as you see fit. But again, we just did the heavy lifting for you. So if we go through this, the delivery guide, starting with that, it looks something like this here. And so, again, this provides you really a quick and dirty way on how to go about delivering the engagement. It talks about all the different resources that are in the kit, how to use them, and then how to go through and configure Cloud App Security, how to upload logs, how to look at the dashboard and all the different reports, how to have the discussions around that, and then how to present the roadmap. In terms of the statement of work, again, this just gives you an example on how to scope this out. And so we provide scope on what's in scope, what's out of scope. We talk about the timelines. We talk about the deliverables. We talk about the customer attendees and resources, executive sponsors and stakeholders, essentially everything you would expect to see in a statement of work. Again, doing the heavy lifting for you to where you just need to customize this a little bit, add your logo, and reuse it. Questionnaire. I keep bringing this up. This is really essential. You could, of course, send this to the customer and have them fill it out, although I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend sitting down with them in a call or in person and going through it together to make sure they understand what we're asking them. But this is understanding how big is the company, how many users do they have, what's your production environment look like, how much is in the cloud versus on-prem, do you have hybrid deployed? What are some of the deployment blockers of cloud services, right? If you haven't gone to Exchange Online yet, please help us understand why. Or if you're currently using, say, Box for cloud storage, but you cannot use OneDrive for Business, help us understand why. Let's make sure we get that documented because that's going to be factored into the roadmap. What are your security concerns? Really, what are your objectives when we think about securing that data, that's in use by Shadow IT? For cloud applications and services, what are the applications that you want to approve, that you're aware of, that are currently being used today? What are the applications you want to ban or block that you're aware of today? And then talk to us about your internet access topology, what type of firewalls and proxies are in use and what that architecture looks like. As far as presentation templates go, again, we have 3 different presentations in the kit. I talked about the kickoff meeting a little bit before, but just expanding on that a bit deeper. This can be used in a Skype meeting. It can be used on-site, really however you see fit. And this introduces the assessment, introduces the engagement, where we talk about the product that we're going to use, CAS. We're going to talk about the timelines. We're going to talk about where resources are required, and really have that honest conversation with the customer around expectations. Here's our expectations as a partner. What are your expectations as a customer? Let's make sure we align to those. And then making sure that we make key decisions around who's going to do what when, next steps, what resources do we need from the customer that has the right level of permissions and access and that sort of thing. On-site engagement overview and template. Again, this can be used in a Skype call or on site. I see multiple uses for this, but this just gives you a high-level idea of what the engagement looks like in terms of timelines, resources, and expectations. So I see multiple uses for this. Closeout meeting template. Again, this is the roadmap template. Now, I'll show you here in a moment. The roadmap template, it was definitely developed by us here at Microsoft, but I see partners customizing this however they see fit, because this is really the gold, if you will, of the entire assessment. So you want to make sure that this resonates. But we do provide a template to get some ideas there around what you might do. As far as the CAS readiness presentation goes, this is a presentation that our engineering teams use and a lot of us at Microsoft use to conduct those conversations around what is cloud app security. And so we're providing this to our partners to reuse as well. And so here you can go through kind of the high-level story of Shadow IT, go through the EMS suite, and then drill into cloud app security. It's about 30 to 40 slides. It goes pretty in-depth. From there, you can spin up a demo tenant from demos.microsoft.com, log into Cloud App Security with data already loaded, content already loaded, and then do a demonstration for that customer during this presentation. Just, again, to help them understand and get comfortable with Cloud App Security and what we're going to be doing for the assessment. Everything that they need to know is in here. And it could also lead into some follow-up conversations as well when we start talking about the roadmap and how we can actually protect the data and manage it and control it using these capabilities in CAS. All right. For the interest of time, I'm not going to do a demonstration today, but I do want to talk a little bit about the outcome of the assessment and what that looks like. So here's some screenshots of Cloud App Security. So, during the assessment, when you sit down with the customer and you go through the findings from those firewall logs, you'll see some screens that look something like this in the dashboard. And this allows you to filter and sift through the different types of applications, and they're categorized based on storage or collaboration, etc. You can see those applications that are in use, how much traffic is being sent to them. You can also see how many users are using them. And then I can drill into those, and I can see details in each discovered application. This is really cool because at Microsoft, we assign a ranking number, if you will, to each of these applications. So if you were to click on one of these, just pick on that top one there, for example, for Dropbox. If I were to click on that, it will give me information about who the company is, when they were founded, and it'll help me understand, do they support SSL encryption? Do they have compliance around GDPR or HIPAA? A myriad of different topics that helps me to understand the risk level for that cloud application. And so when I start to drill into this with the customer, we could take a look at some of the apps that are in use in the environment, and that just helps them understand just how risky or not so much risky that these cloud apps are. So this is the high-level exposure. This is usually an eye-opener for a lot of IT leadership at our customers when they actually see how many applications are in use. And, again, they may say, well, hey, we just bought Office 365, but I see everybody in the environment's using Dropbox. Let's double-click on that and take a look at that a little bit deeper. So it's a great conversation starter and kind of sets the stage for the rest of the discussion. Here's an example going through cloud storage. And some of those applications. And so here I can, again, see the top apps based on upload traffic to those cloud storage applications. So in my demo environment here, I have Dropbox as the top one. Again, I see that score that Microsoft assigns it based on a number of different variables. And I can see how many users are using it and some other traffic information there. I could also see the top risky apps. And these are apps that have that lower risk score based on where it's located and what features they support, like SSL encryption and that sort of thing. And then that helps me to, again, understand who is using those applications and what they might be using them for. And so what's really interesting here is when I dig into this, we have APIs that actually integrate with some of these applications that allows me to see the type of data that's being put in these applications and then also be able to restrict how that data is used. And so when we start to go through and build our roadmap, what's really important is based on you as the partner. I mean, after all, you're that customer's trusted advisor. You know their business better than we do. Plus, you also have experience and skills around this. So adding your own insights and your recommendations as you go through this can be really beneficial for this. And so when you go through this with the customer, that's usually pretty high value for them when you discuss that. If the firewall log supports it, I can actually see the users that are using these cloud apps, and so I can actually see the top users here in my example, and I can also see by traffic, and I can obfuscate this for privacy reasons, of course, but again, this helps to set the context to that IT leadership of the customer, just how bad, if you will, the shadow IT problem is in the environment by how many users are using it and some of the top users. This could be, the VP of HR, for example, that's using one of these apps that we want to make sure we have that discussion with. Wrapping up the discussion, we're going to present back a discovery summary. And again, look, this is just an example slide. I totally see our partners going through and customizing this however they see fit. But this is where we would say, look, we discovered 513 cloud applications in use in your environment. Out of those, 3 are using really sensitive data. You're uploading around 200 gigs per week. Again, it helps to set the stage around information protection and protecting the intellectual property that are being used in these applications. And this is where we can continue that conversation around how can we use cloud app security to protect that data? How can we use things like conditional access with Azure Active Directory to control how those apps are being accessed? And then if we need to, how can we actually block those? And there's a unique feature of CAS where it can go through and generate a script for you to block that it would then use in your proxy and firewall. And here's that roadmap slide. Again, this is an example. It's kind of a boring example, if you will. But again, I would totally expect you to customize this as you need to. But this helps you identify what are those quick wins. What are those tasks and activities we can do in the short term that have the lowest user impact and the lowest implementation cost, but yet provides high value. And so this might be taking us a step further from the assessment and really investigating the use cases for those cloud storage apps that we found, as an example, or email services or collaboration services. Let's investigate the use cases. Let's go out and interview the business and understand why they're using it over maybe Office 365 that they just purchased. And then provide training awareness, of course. Maybe we'll go through and deploy the automatic log upload for CAS and set up a process where we could start monitoring these reports on a weekly or a monthly basis. Over the next 3 to 6 months or whatever time frame works best for the customer. This is where we can kind of go through this a little bit deeper, start looking at unsanctioned applications, maybe if we want to block those, how we might go around blocking those, enabling all the different policy in CAS to monitor the data and protect that data. And then looking into the long term here, how do we deploy conditional access, right, to protect these applications and making sure that if you access it from a unmanaged PC that we limit your ability to download the data, or if you decide to upload data into a approved cloud storage application that we protect that data with rights management, where we classify it with Azure Information Protection and provide governance controls around it. So again, that roadmap. Now, I also see partners inserting their secret sauce and really their offerings into this. So if you have a managed service offering or a subscription offering for a customer where you help to do this for them, that would absolutely be a candidate to talk about this stage during the roadmap presentation, talking about how if you have an adoption change management practice, how that might help. If you want to bring in additional teams to help fill in some of these gaps when it comes to Shadow IT, this would be a great place to start having those conversations. All right, in terms of resources, there's a lot of information here on Cloud App Security. Again, I could spend all week with you on this stuff. What I would recommend is when you download this PowerPoint presentation later, go through some of these resources. There's some excellent videos out there that were recorded from the Microsoft Mechanics series. It's about 18 minutes long, so very short videos. There's also videos out there from Ignite on demoing Cloud App Security, and you can actually see them do a deep dive, level 400 if you will. Great pieces of content to go out and watch to really get up to speed on Cloud App Security. Of course, with the assessment itself, there's some other great resources. What I would recommend doing is just downloading these assessments using that link I provided in the PowerPoint and unzipping the file and just going through it and understanding what's involved and what's in there. Of course, there's some great communities you can join. Don't forget, as a Microsoft partner, you can create a demo tenant at demos.microsoft.com. You can spin up a tenant, and it has Cloud App Security in it. It has content in there. You can even download sample firewall logs and upload those and have sample content to work with. So if you need to demo this to a customer during the pre-sales phase, you can show them a real live working demo of CAS. So don't forget about those resources that are available to you. Something else I want to mention too, as part of being on the One Commercial Partner team here at Microsoft, I mentioned before, really my job is around making sure our partners are successful. And so there's a lot of us here in the U.S. that are focused on that. And so we're here to help you. If you want to go deeper on these assessments, I just talked about Shadow IT today, but we have one around the rapid cyber attack assessment, GDPR detailed assessment. We have one on data discovery, one on using Secure Score. If you want to go deeper on these assessments and get personalized training for your sellers and your delivery resources, we can actually come on site or go into a Microsoft office and spend as much time as you like going deep on these. In terms of helping your delivery resources feel confident and be successful in delivering these assessments, there's training opportunities there where we can come on site and help you work through that. If you need help presenting this to a customer, maybe going through your first proposal with them or presentation on it, we can be right there with you helping. If you need to help set up a proof of concept, for example, we can help you with that. So we are here to help with an OCP at Microsoft, so please feel free to reach out. We want to make sure that you're successful, not just with these assessments, but with everything that you do for your customers. We're not successful unless you and your customer are successful. So with that being said, we have about 10 minutes to go. I just want to, again, say thank you for investing your time here with me today. As you saw, we just scratched the surface of what Shadow IT is, what Cloud App Security is, and what this assessment can provide. Again, go out there and download the assessment, explore it, see how you might be able to incorporate it into one of your existing offerings, or maybe how you can create a new offering on it, and let us know how we can help. So with that said, I'm going to turn it back over to Ed, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Outstanding presentation, a lot of information for our partners. So I do have some questions that came in. I did answer some in the background, but I will just repeat them so that if you have additional comment or response, you can give them. The latest one came in from a partner in North Carolina. He has asked, I'm in Charlotte and would like to get training on doing delivery of assessments. Is that possible?
Yep, totally possible. We can follow up with you. Absolutely.
Okay. How would they follow up with you to be able to put their name on the list or let your group know that they're interested in getting the training?
Yeah, so you can send us a note on the Yammer community, of course. You can also send us an email as well, and Edward, you can feel free to put my email address in there. But probably the Yammer community would be the best way, and that way we can engage with you directly there, and then we could set up a meeting to talk more details and next steps.
Next question. Is there funding to do these assessments that you mentioned?
There are some ESIF funding that's available. I don't have specific details. We'd have to look at the ESIF group there on the Yammer side. But there is funding that's available. So if you are interested, please leave a comment on the Yammer side, and I'll go in there with you, and we can explore that deeper.
There was another question I believe that you answered after the question was asked is, who will be helping deliver this assessment? Is it provided to the partners and the partners deliver, or is it something that the partners locate opportunities and Microsoft delivers?
Oh, that's a great question. And I apologize if I didn't provide clarity around this. So these toolkits, assessments, if you will, are provided to our partners. We expect our partners to basically create offerings and go out and deliver these. So these would be 100% delivered by the partner. However, if you're doing your first one or your second one, you need some assistance, maybe with going through the initial pitch or the scoping or whatever it may be, you can engage us, and we'd be happy to help walk you through that. But this is partner-driven, partner-led, and it's just a way for you to not only build up your pipeline, but also help develop that trusted status relationship with your customer.
Great.
Yeah, great question.
We had another question come in. Which partner group in the U.S. partner community is most appropriate for these questions? I'll take that one. For anyone that's interested in doing these assessments or any of the security assessments, please join the Modern Workplace community. The previous name was the Enterprise Mobility and Security Yammer page, but all of that has been transitioned over to the Modern Workplace partner community. Once you are there, you will see information around all of the security offerings, group roles, as well as all the information that Matt has shared today, in addition to the other security workloads that Microsoft offers as part of their Enterprise Mobility and Security. All right, I'm looking to see if any more questions are coming in. Okay, I did get a question out of BAN. There was a webinar series talking about how to become a Microsoft Trifecta partner, IT assessments, GDPR, and Windows 10. Is this the same webinar? No. We can supply you with the registration for that particular web series, security series, that is being hosted out of Matt's group. So we will make that available once we post the slide deck, the recorded session, and we'll put a copy of the registration link for the M365 Security Solutions web series. Another question. I see the Enterprise Mobility and Security Partner Group. Is that now obsolete? Yes, it is being phased out. It has been left up with an informational to how partners transition over to the new page, which is the Modern Workplace. Since the transition to OCP, all of the Yammer groups that were evolving or revolved around enterprise mobility and security have been condensed into a single Yammer group, which is the Modern Workplace. Yes, sir. We had a partner that found the link posted inside. That is the correct link. Yes. So there's no confusion. This Yammer group is also shared by our sister groups, which are the collaboration and voice community. So the security and the voice and collaboration share the same page. All good questions. We still have 5 minutes, so we'll stay on. People may be gathering their thoughts around other questions I asked you, Matt, so we'll just hang tight.
No problem. And we also participate on the Yammer communities as well. So, if you don't have any questions right now, but you wake up in the middle of the night and you have a question, feel free to put it in the Yammer groups. We're on there, and we'd be happy to help answer the questions there as well.
Private question to me. Are there any prerequisites from a technical standpoint that need to be met, or training that has to be done prior to doing the assessments?
I would say there's no hard training requirements. Again, as part of this engagement, if the customer is pretty green to cloud app security, you can factor that in as you scope it. As far as technical requirements goes, it uses cloud app security, so either an E5 subscription, and actually you could do this with Cloud App Discovery with just E3, or you can use a 30-day trial. So that's technical requirement number one. Second requirement is, don't forget, we have to have your firewall logs. That's how we do the assessment. So we need to make sure we can get those logs, they're supported, and if they're not supported, that you custom map those fields in the CAS service. So those are the two major technical requirements that we have. Education and training, though, and skill prereq, really not required, because you as a partner, you're going to sit down with the customer and go through this in detail. So they'll get that informal knowledge transfer.
Okay. Next question. Is there a sweet spot in terms of the customer size for this type of assessment? Is there a preferred seat deployment to be able to go in and do these assessments?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't see there being a preferred seat size. I've seen partners do this in enterprise customers that are 3,000 plus users. I've seen partners do this in small business where it's below 100 users. I think probably the best way to answer your question is it's going to depend on who the customer is, their maturity level, and how they're able to actually execute on that roadmap that you provide back and propose to them. But there's really no sweet spot. It's really all of the above. Just it's how you scope it and how you want to build this in as an offering, or how you want to engage. Yeah, that's a good question.
We have a thanks for the session. Good info. Thank you for that. Kind words. Another question: is this course still applicable? Someone has posted a link to the partner university. I would suspect this has something to do with training, so I'll let Matt take a look at it really quick. Matt, I posted that to you in the back channel. Is that training that the customer asking about as part of partner university still relevant to cloud app security?
Yeah, bear with me. It's loading. There's a lot of things we post out on Partner University. It looks like this is relevant. So yeah, absolutely. You can certainly take this and use this as you build up your skills and competency to deliver these type of assessments. Yeah, don't discount Partner University. There's a lot of great information out there when it comes to security and compliance.
Got it. Still waiting. We have at least 2 more minutes. We'll stay as long as we have questions. I started to see people slowly log off. Questions are still coming in. As we wait for more questions to come in, I'd like to reiterate what Matt said. Please take advantage of the demo resources provided to you by Microsoft. Demos.microsoft.com, where you're able to spin up tenants with the technology we have discussed today, with data that's injected inside of the tenant for you to train, improve your skills, as well as go through the practice prior to delivering the assessments by getting familiar with the technology. I think we have another question. Nope, that was just a thank you. One other thing, please join the partner community as part of the Yammer page, which is the Modern Workplace. It is the official Yammer and portal for partners for Modern Workplace security, as well as Modern Workplace collaboration. Another question. The title of the course, is it Cloud App Security MPN 17832? I don't know if you can see that, Matt. That's a pretty detailed question. I think this person is trying to figure out the right link to click on.
I can't see that. My suggestion, leave me a note in Yammer, do an app mention with me, and I'll follow up with you, and we can track that down.
Great point. Any questions you have for the benefit of others who may have the same question, the hive mind, right? Gets a lot of answered. Please go into the Yammer group, post your question. It is actively monitored by Matt and other members of the security group. So oftentimes if you have a question around training, technical blockers, or just want to throw something out there, the Yammer's page or Yammer group is the best place to get started. Someone said, post the link to the Yammer community. Can you give me that active link, Matt, in our private chat? I think mine has been modified.
Yes, I will grab that. I have to log back into Partner University. Yeah, I'll grab that and I'll give it to you, Ed, and you can post it back into the Yammer group here following this webcast.
Second here. Let me see if I can find it for him before we end the call. One moment, everyone.
And you said you had an MPN number on the end of that. What was that number?
Give me 1 second, sir. That MPN number was 17832.
Okay. I have it up right here. Let me see if this will work. I'll put it in the window here, and you can post it back to them. Yeah, it's kind of weird how Partner University has the URL set up. There's a lot of redirects there. But if you just go into Partner University and do a search for Cloud App Security, and then in parentheses MPN 17832, you'll get a course here on Cloud App Security. This is absolutely relevant. It was published in July of 2017. I would absolutely recommend you go through and watch it. It'll give you a great overview of CAS. Also, we'll post in the Yammer group, there's another great video on CAS from Ignite last September, where they go through about an hour-and-a-half presentation where they take you through the entire product, start to finish. We'll be sure to post that as well to help add to your readiness.
Okay, see if any other questions. They are coming in. All right, I don't think we have any other questions. So with that, I spoke too soon. Just one more thing. Let a fupa there. All right, everyone. Had a little bit of a feedback. It's been resolved. We are 5 minutes over the hour, and respect of everyone's time, I'd like to thank you for taking part in the Modern Workplace Security and Compliance Community Call for February 2018. The recorded session, as well as a copy of the presented deck, will be presented for download at the registration link, as well as on the Yammer page. Any questions you may have can be addressed by visiting the Yammer page and signing up. The link to the actual Modern Workplace Partner Community group will be posted in the sign-up page also. Thanks, everyone, for joining the call. We look forward to hosting a call again for March, where we will present additional technologies around shadow IT and shadow IT assessments, as well as conditional and access control. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day.